I wonder if these guys who very often are raised on a diet of violent video games, if they actually start pulling the trigger of a real weapon and they see real death and they find that it's not as satisfying as maybe it was when they're playing it on a television screen.
The idea of these video games to dehumanize individuals, to have a game of shooting individuals and others. I've always felt that is a problem for future generations and others. We've watched from studies shown before of what it does to individuals. When you look at these photos of how it took place, you can see the actions within video games and others. But what I'd like to do is make sure just get all the facts where there are indications. And there's times before that we have found this, and there's times before that we've proven we could come together. Just in the last Congress, when we found that there was a shooting in Texas, that an individual should not have been able to have that.
And if I were a betting man, I'd say that he probably logs 6 to 8 hours a day playing one of those, Fortnite or one of those video games where you're doing nothing but dehumanizing people by blowing their heads off, one after another after another.
Because it does seem to desensitize some of these killers to the horrific nature of actually what happens when you pull a trigger and the gun is aimed at another human being.
I agree. It's just, if you think about it, he's 21 years old. For the last 25 years, we have been, the parenting method in this country has been very soft, and there haven't been a lot of really tough parenting methods that have been popular. And you see that it causes young people to not have the capacity to really work through tough things that happen in your life. Not that that is what causes people to become active shooters, but that comprised with actively engaging in something that causes you to dehumanize people for hours and hours on end every day, it really is I think it's just a bad combination, and it's something to be looked at, and it's something that we've seen several times in these active shooters.
So the local authorities obviously are going to be overwhelmed there. They've got the help.
Second, we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately. Cultural change is hard, but each of us can choose to build a culture that celebrates the inherent worth and dignity of every human life. That's what we have to do.
And I say, how long are we going to let, for example, and ignore at the federal level particularly, where they can do something about the video game industry? 60-some-year-old father and grandfather myself, what's changed in this country? We've always had guns, we've always had evil, but what's changed where we see this rash of shooting? And I see a video game industry that teaches young people to kill.